What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Sam and Tara in Scream 6 and how I believe the movie is going to sink or swim with these two characters, and I'm okay with that. Now, that's just repeating the title right there, but this is something that I noticed, and, right now, kind of a dead period with Scream, right? I mean, we had an exciting summer with the film filming itself, and now it's a little bit dead until it picks up, I think, for marketing and trailers and all that. But one thing that I think we all noticed, whether you care about it or not, that's totally up to you and that's fine, is the amount of time it seemed that these actual individuals were on the set. Now, you can't read too much into who lives or dies based off of who's on set, longer or whatever, right? Courtney Cox being there just in July, Samara Weaving being there, 3.5, maybe 4 weeks, Hayden, same thing. You can't really read into what they're going to do with those characters based off of that, but one thing you can read into is, I would say you can kind of do the reverse. You can say how important they will be, maybe, depending on the character, to the story, depending on how long they were. And, Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega, the point is, they were there from the beginning, and they were there at the end. These two characters seamlessly kind of, throughout the entire thing when people were taking pictures on set, and they seemed to be the first two there, and honestly, they seem to be the last two there. Now, of course, that could be wrong, and they may have had the entire month of July off for all that we know. There was a period of time where they kind of became invisible and they weren't really shown. You would imagine that's when they were filming a lot on the sound stages, and that's when everybody was kind of invisible. You know what I mean? There was very little that we saw of anybody outside in the public realm during that time. But let's follow it through. Let's assume, and it is an assumption, and that can come back to bite you, but let's assume that because they were there for so long, they are obviously very instrumental in the movie. Well, number one, you can read into that a little bit because you think of somebody like Tara, and in my opinion, while she was the best character, and I will stand on that, she's the best character in Scream 5, she really was very limited in her role. Obviously, a lot of that was and I wonder how they did that. Did they know, we have Jenna Ortega, but because we want to do this fake out in the beginning where a character is not going to die, but then, of course, they have to be severely injured, so they can't really do much throughout the entire movie. And it just so happened to be her, the co-lead of the film, even though she really wasn't, right? I'd say, I don't think she had that much screen time, but she was very, instrumental in the entire film. So the number one thing I think of is, all right, thank God they, number one, realized how good Jenna Ortega is as Tara and Tara as a character, and I feel like this is evidence that they're moving her up and elevating her even more. She was probably, in terms of the newer cast, or the new cast in general in Scream 5, she was probably the second build person, right, behind Melissa Barrera, but now I would say they're kind of co's. Obviously, the story may still focus on Sam. It definitely doesn't have to, but Sam will probably be that 1A, the 1A, and then Tara would be the 1B, and that's okay. But that's something I think you can, get from them being on set, is that Tara most likely is going to be in this movie as much as Sam, which is a pretty big thing, right? Because in the last movie, Sam had a lot of scenes away from Tara, which is fine, but just now they're going to be, I think, together more often, which could be cool. And also, Tara's just going to have more of a screen time. Also, that means Sam, again, is kind of, leading the show or co-leading the show. And this is where the whole thing of sinking or swimming off of these characters. Look, Scream doesn't necessarily sink or swim based off of two characters, based off of the leads. You could argue something like Scream 1, you go back to the best one, the original, it doesn't necessarily sink or swim based off of Sydney. I would argue, though, if Sydney was not a great character, yeah, that overall really hurts the quality of the film because she's the focal point. She's what you see the movie kind of through as her, and she's the thing that's all about. But at the same time, if Matthew Lillard sucked, or Skeet Ulrich sucked, or if the writing was bad, or if you could predict it in the first 5 minutes, those are all things that would vastly hurt the movie as well, right? So I'm not pretending to say that literally it's these two and the rest of the movie can be complete trash and they can save the film. I don't really think so. And vice versa, right? If they're complete trash, I don't think they don't sink the movie, but they definitely, in my opinion, really hurt it. And that's, again, when you think of Sam, for those that don't know, my controversial, because people are weird, I guess, my controversial opinion of Sam is I thought she was fine, and that's kind of it. I didn't think she was awful. I didn't think she was good. I think she got better as the movie went on, and I would say she was good at the end from the, the reveal on. I think she was very good. But the other times I thought she was actually pretty weak. So they kind of evened themselves out. She was kind of below average, and then she was above average, which kind of evened out to average in my mind. I know not everybody thinks that. Some people think Sam is the best character in that film. That's totally cool. I don't agree with that, and that's fine. But this is kind of what I want, because even leaving Scream 5, I said you need to basically do this again, but this time, you have to somewhat redeem, in my eyes, you have to kind of redeem Sam's character or make her elevated so she is just really good, somebody you truly, truly root for. And the only way you do that is by putting her on screen a lot. I like it, and maybe that's controversial too. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of that character, but I still actually very much support giving her the reins again, and exactly as they're doing, her and Tara. Give them the film and see what they do with it. And again, I do think they can either help the movie or hurt the movie, and depending on I guess their character arcs and all that stuff. What I will say is, so far, based off of leaked dialogue, or obviously the pictures that we've seen, well, I love their new look, specifically Melissa, her new look, that kind of like that punk rock, like a rebelling against the world kind of thing, bigger sister, like protective sister. Like, I like that. I really, really like that. So if we're just going on visual looks, I like the direction they're taking Sam's character. Now, it has nothing to do with acting, and it has nothing to do with dialogue, so we'll have to see how that goes in the end. But no, I mean, that's ultimately where I'm at, right? Is that I trust Jenna Ortega as Tara. Do I trust necessarily the writing of Tara? I didn't think it was incredibly special, but I didn't think it was bad. I thought the writing of Scream 5 in general for a lot of these characters was fine, and then it really was the individuals that did whatever they wanted to with it, and that either elevated it or hurt it. And I think Jenna has that natural skill to do that. So if it's the same thing here, it'll be a test to see, right? Like, if the writing is amazing, well, then that should help the actors in general. If the writing isn't amazing or it's just average, well, then the actors have to just move it kind of up, right? And that should signal which one of these are really, really, the true talents of the film. But it's fine. I mean, right now, I feel good about it, and I feel like they're doing exactly what I wanted them to do, even though, and even, I would argue, even if you don't like Sam, if you firmly are in the camp of, I did not like that character, this is still a good move, because, again, this is kind of all right, you could blame the drugs she was taking, right? Maybe she was supposed to be a more suppressed character, but this is their chance now. Do what you will with her character, give her the screen time, because there's no excuses anymore. In my mind, there would be zero excuses at the end of this movie. You gave her a lot of screen time again. You gave Tara more screen. And again, there's things that can go wrong with Tara. She could become an unlikable character. Maybe too much screen time for her isn't a good. There is definitely ways of this going wrong. But again, the whole sink or swim mentality, give them it all and kind of have the movie rest on their shoulders, right? Maybe not fully, but in a sense, and then see how it goes. And I like that idea, because and it's a huge risk, and it's also a huge reward, because this is how it should be. The characters should be good, and if they're not, then at least in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, so you know when all these videos go up. If you want to follow or support me anywhere else, all my social media is in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next Scream video.